T-Ball Paul, I think, is in the house. All right, let's welcome him aboard. Mr. Paul, how's it
Hey, what's
going?
up?
Awesome. Hear you loud and
How's it going?
clear. I'm good.
Cool. I'm
What can
glad
I
you're
do
doing
for you?
content. I don't know if you're, I was gonna say, I don't know if you remember this, but there was this thing called the North American Mixed Martial Arts in Anaheim. I'm from Orange County, and it was in Anaheim, and I was like 13. And Swick was there, you were there, Dan Henderson, like all the dudes of like the mid 2000s were there. So
Nice.
yeah, like you like signed my magazine or something. But
Awesome.
that was like 15 years ago, and then I saw you're doing the hell yeah, man. Keep at it.
Cranking away here, slowly but surely. I don't get much love from the algorithms, but whatever.
Talk about the real stuff that, I mean, I'm telling you, 98% of creators, wouldn't dare talk about, all the stuff that you talk about. So, but then again, it's the truth, and you've been through the ringer. So, about your experiences with the big company. And all
I'm in a unique position where I've got insider info in the game, but like I don't really care. Like I've already burnt the bridges and people are already mad at me for whatever, so I don't really care what I say. T-Ball, did we lose you? You froze?
You're crystal clear on my end.
Oh yeah, you froze for a second. Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
So let me hear your question.
Okay, sweet. I mean, I asked you a couple questions because because I've tuned into your live streams before, and just like it was kind of shocking to me that you believe that the PFL and ONE and all the other hoots with the UFC, and like I agree with you that it is suspicious that all popped up right when the class action lawsuit came about, and it's really cool that the class action lawsuit. I mean, that's the reason why Francis Ngannou clause and is able to do what he's doing right now. So like that's really cool that But I just went dark. But
it's okay. So one of the things is ways I don't think they're trying to compete with them is like, do you ever see counter programming? Like they're never trying to be like, oh, our show's better, we're going to put a show on at the same time. There's never any counter programming. But the UFC notoriously used to counter program against their competitors before. Now they don't anymore. Now they don't really try to automatically put a fight on the night their competitors are having fights. Now they're just kind of doing their own thing and everybody else does their own thing. You also don't see any bidding wars. Never has anybody ever bid against the UFC. The UFC just gets done with people and lets them go. It's never a fight. It strikes me as odd that these other promoters would benefit greatly from the Ali Act, yet none of the promoters will do anything in support of the Ali Act, or you even mention the class action lawsuit. You would think that they'd be like, yeah, it's a monopoly, we can't make as much money, and they would want to do something to break up that monopoly, but there's zero effort in any way. And I'm just saying it all sounds fishy. It just sounds really fishy. Like, why wouldn't you take the boot off your neck if you could?
Yeah.
Like, especially like Scott Coker, he's, for my opinion, he's a pretty skilled promoter because he promoted since the 80s. He's been promoting kickboxing since the 80s. He knows what he's doing. It's like, why would you purposely just allow UFC to hold this monopoly over you when, like, if you could remove it, you would make more money and do a better job?
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, but
the next three promotions in the number 2 position to the UFC, like if you combine their total profit of money they're making, like combined all of them together, it's still 1/10 of what the UFC does.
Yeah.
So it's like
the
they're
UFC,
so they're not. There's no competition. There's none.
But
I could be wrong, but I don't know. It seems odd. It seems odd to me.
But you have to realize that class fighters that could kick ass in the UFC that fight in Bellator and PFL. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, there's fighters all over the world that could compete at the highest level, and I think that's something we get robbed of right now is because of the UFC's monopoly, because they have had a monopoly for over 10 years, in my opinion. They've had a monopoly for over 10 years. So that means this monopoly has been giving out the rankings and the titles, and the ascension to titles controlled by them. So how much of it's real? How much of it is real, and how much of it is just pro wrestling? If they control the top 10 guys so heavily, like what's the chances that they're not really as good as they are making them out to be? It's been 10 years since we saw any real competition between different promotions.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think the answer is John wrestling than pro wrestling is now.
What's that?
The UFC is more pro wrestling than pro wrestling is.
Yes.
The characters and, you know, like I was saying earlier, the manipulation of the rankings.
Yep. You're not wrong.
So
not wrong at all. Yeah.
I was just basically saying, like, because I watch PFL, Bellator, and I'm like, dang, fighters. And I think that when a Bellator or a One signs an amazing fight, their way of saying, hey, we're going to build up a great roster and we're going to compete with the UFC. That's Musasi. And when One has their studs, like when they sign these, trying to compete with the UFC, is that, do you not agree with that?
No, the way that MMA business model is set up, what happens is the promoters use the fighter's name to promote the promotion. Where in boxing, the boxer is supposed to be promoted over everything. Like the boxing promotion pushes the fighter and the fighter's name. It's all about the fighter, just pushing the fighter. You may never hear who the promotion is. So when ONE FC or Bellator sign a big name, it has nothing to do with them trying to compete with the UFC. It's them trying to steal market share because now they're getting those people who know that name to associate that name with their brand now.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. But
because if there was actual cross promotion and there was an independent title and UFC's like, yeah, we're signing Shogun, whatever, you know, because he's retired from the UFC, and we're gonna put a lot of money into him. We're gonna put money into his trainers, into his meal plans, into his diet, and we're gonna get him straightened out, and we're gonna turn him into a champ. And because he won the title, now that's where they make all their money, is because now they have a guy who went out and won the independent title. Now they're making a huge percentage, or not huge percentage, but making a small percentage of a huge amount of money. And that's where the promoter makes their money back from. It's just it's a different game how the promoter makes money under the boxing model versus MMA model, but it's all prize fighting. So we got Topher in the chat. So you broke up.
Well, anyways, it's okay. I'm gonna have dinner with my folks right now, so I had to hop out of dinner to make this little chat. But I'll pop in.
Awesome. Thanks for calling in. Really appreciate you calling in. Excellent questions. It's good talking. And I don't know anything. I just smell fish, and I just like to pick at things and see what's there.
Sounds good. Have a good night.